That's so cool. I mean, I'm a professional. I've seen this all before. Hey everybody, Dave here. I'm going to tell you what I intended to do in today's video, and then I'm going to tell you what actually happened so that you're ready for this. What I intended to do was to go over the updates for December 2021 Power Automate for Desktop changes. What I wanted to do was spend 10 minutes for the whole video, but instead what happened is I spent like 10 minutes for each update, and there's like 10 different changes. So the video is going to be kind of long. But let me just say, I had a lot of fun. I also had some frustrations. Power Automate Desktop, I had to uninstall and reinstall several times. At one point, I had to restart my computer. Oh, it was kind of a nightmare. But by the end of the video, I started to get really excited because the OCR change it's just the best one of all of them. While you may not have the patience or the time to watch the whole thing, I would suggest you look at the chapters feature and jump to whichever update sounds interesting to you. In my personal opinion, the most interesting updates are that you can download Power Automate Desktop from the Microsoft Store, which is the first thing that I talk about, and then the OCR change, because the Windows OCR engine is like 10 times better than Google's Tesseract engine. I encourage you to try all of them, and feel free to stay around for the whole video if you want to, but I just wanted to warn you in advance, it's going to be kind of long. You know what? I just need to accept it. Maybe that's just who I am. I cannot make a video without talking a whole bunch. Look at me, I'm still doing it. Okay, let's just stop. Let's just go into the video and start this thing. Thanks for joining me, and here we go. First thing we need to do is go to the Power Automate Desktop update notes for this month. So let's do that. I'm just on Google. I'm just going to search for Power Automate Desktop Update December 2021. And then it actually brings up the result. First one is Power Automate for Desktop December 2021 Update. I'm going to click that. This is the exact page we need. I will try to remember to put this link in the description, but I'll probably forget. So first thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to skip over all of the notes and go to the very bottom, because the very first one is the one that we need. So if you skip to later in the video, just note that one thing I have done is I've skipped to the very bottom and I've downloaded Power Automate Desktop from the Microsoft or Windows Store. So the next section of this video is going to be about downloading that. The first update we're going to look at is actually going to be the last one in this list. So if you're following along with me, you've come to the Power Automate for Desktop December 2021 update notes. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, past a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to look at this Power Automate for Desktop availability in Windows 10 Store. Now, the only thing I have to say about this that is weird is that on my computer, it's called the Microsoft Store. That's all I have. So when you go to download this, though, here's what I'd suggest you do. If you're going to switch from using the desktop install, so like you go to the website, you download the installer, you install it and stuff, and you're going to switch to the Microsoft or Windows 10 Store, I would suggest that you uninstall any version you currently have first, because I ran into some issues with this if I didn't do that. So I'm going to open up right now, add and remove features in Windows, and go to search for Power Automate. Now, it might look a little different for you. This is technically the Windows 10 or the Microsoft Store version of Power Automate. I'm going to uninstall this just to show you my uninstalling it. This takes a little bit of time for me, but what I originally did when I had the desktop application installed, I did the same thing. I came in here, I uninstalled this before I actually got it to work properly, because what will happen is you'll have the new version of Power Automate through the Windows or Microsoft Store, but then you'll have the old version of the desktop install. And so you'd actually have to update them separately. And rather than have that be all confusing, I just decided to not deal with it at all, have only one version installed. So I have uninstalled Power Automate completely as far as I can tell here. And then I'm going to now go into the Microsoft Store. I'm going to search for Power Automate, and then it actually shows it's installed. Let me close the Microsoft Store. I think that was just a cached page. We're going to open it back up, search for Power Automate. So now it actually says that I need to install it. So I'm going to click install, and there's nothing else you have to do. This is one reason I really like using the Microsoft Store for various apps, is I just don't have to think about anything. I don't need to worry about bitness. I don't need to worry about location of install. I don't need to worry about this feature or that feature. Maybe it's good to be able to change those things, but in this case, this is just a tool I just want it to work. So this will take a little bit of time to install. And then once I actually launch the application, it's going to take a little bit of time to download my flows. Uh-oh, something happened on our end. That's not good. Come on now. 3.5 star rating. That means it can, in fact, install. So, if you get a problem like this, I would suggest that you go ahead and restart your computer. Matter of fact, from the get-go, maybe it's a good idea to uninstall Power Automate and then restart your computer, and then go back into the Microsoft or Windows Store and then download Power Automate at that point. Maybe that will mostly avoid any issues. So let's try that now. I'll be back in just a minute, and my webcam is going to be all messed up. So you'll see that. And the reason for that is I won't have Power Automate installed in order to set up the webcam, because I don't know how to do it manually anymore since I automated that. But when we come back, then we'll hopefully get Power Automate installed, and then I'll run my little automation to fix the webcam, and then we'll have everything ready to go to start going through all the update notes. All right, we're back, and my webcam probably looks not quite the same as it did before. That's because some of the settings don't save whenever you restart OBS or you restart your computer. So we're going to use Power Automate Desktop to fix that in a minute, hopefully, if we can get it to install properly. So I'm going to go back and search for Power Automate. This is after having uninstalled Power Automate and something went wrong with it. Oh my goodness, it still says something happened on our end. Oh, this is not going well. It says, there has been an error. Reporting this problem will help us understand it better. Retry. It worked? It worked! Everybody celebrate! Okay, so I don't know what just happened, but to reiterate, here's what I'd suggest. When you're going to switch to using the Microsoft Store version of Power Automate, first, use Add Remove Programs, remove Power Automate, any version of it that you have, then restart your computer, then open the Microsoft Store, search for Power Automate, and click Install. Maybe it'll work. Okay, but we're good now. I think we're going to click Open. It's going to open up Power Automate, and then it's going to take a little bit of time. It says getting things ready. I assume it's down. Oh, there. So it said getting your flows. That happened much faster than I expected it would, but these are all the flows that I've made. You can see it's a whole bunch of them that I've played around with. These are stored in the cloud, so I just proved to you, in case you were worried about it, that if you are going to uninstall Power Automate, that you'll lose your flows. You won't. Those are stored in the cloud. Even if you don't have a subscription for Power Automate for the cloud version, you still have your flows stored in the cloud. You just can't really do much more with them than use them on your local computer. So let's go ahead and move into looking at each of the updates since it worked. No, actually, sorry. We got to do one thing first. We have to run this automation. Is this the right one? C920? Yeah. So OBS set C920 video settings. I'm going to hit run. And it's waiting for me. So I'm going to just bring, this is OBS. This is what I'm recording this in right now. I'm going to hit Control-Shift-O, which is what I made the flow to do. And then it should start clicking around on the app and fixing my C920 settings. Right, so you can see it's doing quite a few clicks. And I don't really remember any of this. None of these clicks am I doing. I at some point in the past figured out what would be the best by watching some guy on YouTube, right? Because that's where you learn things. And he was like, do all these things and do it in this exact order every time, and your camera will look better. And I said, okay. And so I made a Power Automate desktop flow that does that. If you haven't seen that video, it was, I don't know, a few months ago, earlier this year. Just search for, like OBS Studio and Power Automate, and it should come up. But anyways, so that worked, and you can see it still works. I haven't really made any changes to that automation. It's still working perfectly like it used to. And I rely on that to make every single video. So I'm going to move this back off screen. And now we can go through and look at each of the updates in our update notes in Chrome here. We just did Power Automate for desktop availability in the Windows 10 store. Now that we have downloaded Power Automate desktop from the Windows 10 store, I'm going to scroll up to the top of the updates, and we're going to look at the first one here, and that is the web and desktop recorders are now unified. The web recorder and desktop recorder are now unified into a single Power Automate for desktop recorder. So previously what you had to do is, let's create a new flow. Try unified recorder. What you had to do before, whenever you wanted to use the recorder, which I really don't use it, but if I wanted to, I would have to click recorder, and then I have to do 2 separate sessions. When I want to click into the page and work with HTML elements and stuff, then a totally separate session of using this recorder if I want to click on desktop apps like Notepad++ or Spotify, or even clicking up into the main window area of Chrome, not like inside of the web page. Now, though, you can use one recorder and you can just jump back and forth between the two, and it could probably save you a little bit of time and a little bit of headache between having to switch between the two. So let me click record, and we're just going to try a few things. First, we'll use Notepad. So I'm going to have Notepad right here open on the screen. Let's hit record, and then I'm just going to click in here. We're going to type a search term and then copy it, and then go try to search it in Chrome, and then click around or something in a web page. So Power Automate Desktop Update. Actually, let's backspace. Will that work? Actions, and then we'll hit Control A, Control C to copy that. Then we're going to minimize this window. Oh, actually, let's delete. Let's hit delete. Then let's minimize the window. Then we'll go up here and we will, I guess we use this window. We'll click in here. We're going to hit Control V to paste, and then hit Enter to search. Then I want to click on this. So at this point, we are now moving from using a desktop app interaction to using a web interaction, and it's going to be using the Power Automate extension to communicate with the web page here. So I'm going to click this link. Then I want to click into the filter area, and we're just going to search for variables. Store and manage values and variables. I guess we can just click that one. And then it should bring us to a page where maybe we can learn more about variables and stuff in Power Automate. At this point, we have now done 2 different things. We've done desktop interaction and web interaction in the same recorder within Power Automate. So I'm going to click Finish. And I don't know that this will work, and that's perfectly fine. After you do this, it's not surprising to find that something is broken in here. And the thing is, it's very difficult for a recorder to work properly, even in the best ones I've seen, which to date, the best recorder, not recorder so much, but the best sort of like kind of automatic identification of elements and the tool guessing for you is UiPath Studio X. It works really well. But even there, you still have to go and adjust some things now and then. And I wouldn't expect Power Automate to already have something that's just going to work all the time right after you record it. So I'm going to hit record, but I just do not really expect this to work. And that's, as I said, that's completely fine. Okay, so let's save it, and let's hit run. Click on the element. It says click on the element, Chrome, start of auto-generated actions using the recorder. Shouldn't be clicking on Chrome at all. What did it do? I think it put my actions in the wrong order. Yeah, it says click UI element in window, but it should be using like Notepad right now. Let's change that. I don't know how that happened. Maybe I did something. Let's try it again. Okay, now it's going to send keys. It copied it. Okay, it pasted my search. Search for it. Let's see if it can click on the first link there. It might fail. I think it's going to fail. It says failed to assume control of Chrome. Make sure the add-on is installed. I think maybe it's just looking for the wrong search term, or it's looking for the wrong window title. So I'm going to change this to just be like, I don't know. Let's just try Google. Let's see. This tab might have Google. Yeah, Google search. So let's try this again. We're going to go back to here. pretend like this is where it is to begin with. Bring up Notepad, run this one more time. I think it'll work this time. Maybe. Okay. Now we see if it clicks the link. Hey, it did it. And now it should search for the filter. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. Element selector, HTML body. Not found. Okay, so this is where the recorder, in my opinion, is not great. You see this selector. I think you can see it kind of. It's just like oh, HTML and the body inside that, and a div and a div and a div and a nav and a form and a div and a an unordered list item. Like that, it's not good when it automatically identifies these things for us. So, which one is it looking for? Where it failed on. Okay, so it clicked this. It's trying to click a link. It actually didn't even record all of my steps though. So that's a little weird. Because you can see the last part of the auto-generated actions using the recorder is clicking a link inside of here, but it appears as though it didn't even record the fact that I typed variables into this filter by title area. So I don't know what's going on there. So it's definitely got some issues, but we did see it work. We saw it in a single recording session, type, and click and stuff on a desktop app such as Notepad, and then also interact with a web page. Specifically, the one we saw actually work correctly was when it searched for, when I click back, you'd think it would go to here. Okay. All right, Chrome's being weird. Power Automate Desktop Actions is what we searched for. And we saw it click on this link. So the fact that it clicked on that and it actually used web elements rather than UI elements in order to click on this. So the new feature actually works. Last thing I'll say about it is that personally, I would avoid using the recorder unless you know why you're doing it. But more than likely, you will not be able to use whatever it gives you. You will have to adjust something. And I think it's fine when you're doing a POC. You're just like, is it even capable of doing this thing that I want to do? That's a good time to use the recorder. But once you've decided this is a thing I want to automate, delete everything you've used with the recorder and just do it all manually. Like create the actions manually and stuff. Create your web elements, your UI elements, and all that stuff manually. Some people might not agree with me, but I think that people who've been developing in RPA for a while have already come to that conclusion as well. And pretty much any RPA tool, it doesn't matter if it's UiPath or Blue Prism that doesn't have a recorder, you pretty much just do the things manually. And that's going to be more successful when you go for a production deployment for especially an unattended automation that needs to run without your monitoring it. Now, if it's on your own desktop, I guess it's not as big of a deal because you can kind of stop it if it goes haywire. But that's my thought about the recorder. So let's move to the next update. The next update we're going to go to, we're actually going to be skipping over the tenant picker is now supported in the console because I don't really have a way to test that. And so we're going to move down to create a copy of a desktop flow through the console. And so this is pretty simple to try. The way you had to do this before was you open up a flow that you've created and you want to duplicate this. So you've got it open in edit mode, which, right, you can see already this takes a little bit of time. You click File, Save As, and then you could call it Try Unified Recorder Copy, save this, and now you've got a copy of that. Okay, right here. This is the original, and this is the new one. But now you don't actually have to open it anymore. I think this is a nice quality of life change. So I can go to this little dots for more actions, and I can click Create a Copy, or I can right-click on this and do Create a Copy, and then Save. And you can see, fewer clicks, it takes less time to create a duplicate of a flow that you've already created. So that's kind of a nice quality of life change. Also pretty easy to test. The only thing that I guess we do at this point to just make sure it works properly is that these are actually entirely separate flows that don't get edited when you change one and the other. So let's open up two of them. I'll open up this one. And we'll open up this one. We'll put them side by side for a second. Okay, so from the duplicate, right, this is the copy, I'm going to just delete a bunch of the actions and save it. Okay, we're going to just close both of them and then reopen both of them. Okay, so we got the original on the left and the duplicate on the right. You can see the original still has all of the actions it had before, and the duplicate now only has a few of the actions. And this can be kind of beneficial to do when you know that you have two different automations that do something slightly different. There's probably better ways to do this, some more robust ways to do this, but you can just duplicate it, change a few things, and now you've got two different automations. The other benefit to this is, if you don't want to rely on some kind of source control or version control, you could just create a duplicate of your flow before you mess with it a whole bunch, right? Because at least as far as I've seen, when you're just using Power Automate Desktop as a local desktop application, you don't have the cloud version or anything, which might have version control in it. I don't know. But this way, if you wanted to mess around with it a lot, you don't want to break what you have, you duplicate it, make your crazy weird changes in the duplicate, and then you've still got the original in case you mess something up. The next update is going to be a new action. Recognize entities in text is now available. Now, this is a fun one. And when I say fun, I mean extremely frustrating. Let's go into it. We're going to try a little bit. I'm going to make fun of this action a little bit, but don't be upset by it. I'm kind of doing it a little bit in fun, a little bit in jest. But this action seems kind of weird to me, and I think that probably over time it will be better, and at that point I won't really have anything to make fun of. But let's go open up Power Automate. I guess I could read it and point out what this is. Recognize entities in text is supposed to use natural language processing. I guess it doesn't say it here, but it's supposed to recognize entities inside of some text, such as numbers, dates, measurement units, and other stuff. And the idea is, it's, if you had like a bunch of percents or a bunch of numbers or a bunch of dates or something inside of a body of text, you could extract them all. I don't know what you do with them at that point, but if for some reason you wanted to do that, you could pull them out. And then it goes a step further and it tries to interpret the text to be like what natural language processing is for, is to have a human thought or a human sort of conversion for what do those things mean. As an example, if the word half, like HALF, is inside of text and you tell it to pull out numbers, it'll return you 0.5 for that half because it understands that half means 0.5 or like 1/2. So that's kind of cool, but there's some weird things to it. Let's go look at them. So I'm going to open up Power Automate here. I'm going to go new flow. Let's do try recognize entities in text. And what I need to do is grab some text that we can practice with. But first what I'll do is just manually type some things, and then we'll see what kind of stuff it extracts, and then we'll kind of play around with it after that. So let's do recognize. Okay, so if I search for it on the left, it's inside of the text section, recognize entities in text. What text do we want it to recognize from? I'm going to create a variable that we'll use for this. So we'll just call the variable %text %. And then the entity type, we're going to come back and change that now and then, but I am going to put some date times or some dates inside of some text, and we'll see what it gets from that. It's going to take the output and put it into recognized entities as our output. I think it's a data table. Let's save. And then it says we don't have a variable called text, so let's do set variable. We're going to put that above. We want to set the variable text to some different things. So let's say that on July 4th, 2019, I went to a parade. I'm making this up off the top of my head, so this may not be the best thing ever. And then on, let's say 1/1/2020. Okay, so I want to see what it does with this date here. Oh, right. Okay, it would always be January 1st. We should do 12. So this would either be January 12th or December 1st, depending on what region you're from. I don't know, played ping pong. Let's save that. And Okay, so what we're going to do is set a variable to that text that I just typed. Then we'll recognize the entities inside of that text and see what we get. Okay, what it got is 2 different dates. So it says original text. Wow, okay. So the original, okay, all right, this is a good example of the natural language processing that it's doing. Is it really NLP? I don't know. It's at least date conversion, which understands the way that people normally format things or the way they say things, I guess. So maybe this isn't quite natural language processing at this point, but it's still a good, helpful, just inbuilt conversion that it can do for you. It gives you 2 columns, original text and value. The original text is literally like, what is the text that was inside the paragraph or whatever. And then it tries to convert that into a value that you can use. So if you're saying, give me back date times, it's always going to give you back a date plus a time, right? Default's going to be 12 a.m. And it's going to try to convert the text into a date that you can then use for different things. This way you don't have to look for July and then convert that to the month 7. You don't have to look for 4th and convert that to 4. It handles all that stuff for you. So this is actually pretty good. I said I was going to make fun of this, but this is actually pretty nice. And then let's go add to this. I won 44. I won 44 awards at a competition, and I lost $20 because I lost a bet. Okay, so this is numbers that we've now added to this. So I'm going to change the entity type that it's looking for to number. Save that, and let's run it again and see what it gets. So this time it got 6 rows. Okay, so you can see this is different. It actually pulled out the numbers inside of the dates as well. I don't know how I feel about that, but maybe there would be a reason for wanting those. So before it recognized them as dates, it ignored everything else. This time as numbers, it literally pulled out each individual number. And you can also see that the original text and the value are the same because it didn't need to convert anything. I noticed, though, it did not get 4th from July 4th. That seems a little weird. It seems like it should have gotten that. But it appears to me, this is where I was going to make fun of it. Like, yeah, great, I can pull out numbers. But this appears to just be regular expressions. This is all it's doing. There's no natural language processing happening here. I don't know what the NLP would do for this. I'm not saying that it should be doing something more here. Well, except for the fact that July 4th is a number, right? If you asked me, is 4th a number? I mean, no, it's not a number data type, but it has the concept of a number. And so it looks to me like some of the ways that you can use this action is actually just regular expressions, and only some of these options that you can choose are actually employing natural language processing. I'll show you another example. Okay, so let's go to quoted text, save, and now let's say that I quoted somebody. Okay, a friend of mine. Let's do this. Dave said, "What is your favorite color?" And then John replied, "My favorite color is green." Some really high level text I'm typing here. Okay, so now we've changed it though to look for quoted text. We have quoted a couple of things. I'm going to hit run, and it should get out both of those quotes. So original text, "What is your favorite color?" and original text, "My favorite color is green." Obviously, when it goes to value, so there's nothing to convert, it's just quoted text. Here's my problem with this. When you advertise an action, this is the make fun of part. When you advertise an action like recognize entities in text, and you say that it employs natural language processing or natural language understanding, I would think that if you specifically build it to handle quoted text, the very first thing that it should be able to do is tell you who said the thing. It's not even very complicated. You can almost use string manipulation to achieve those results, to just find out who said this thing. Because you could look for the word said or says or say or whatever before and after the quoted text, and then get a noun or a name that's around there. It may not be 100% successful, but you could do it. regular expressions, I mean, as long as you have enough kind of search parameters to look for, and it's also not going to be 100% successful. But natural language processing, I would expect that it's built to handle something like this. If you say, I want quoted text, why would you want the quoted text without knowing who said it? That just seems extremely pointless to me. So personally, I would like to see this action either changed to just be called regular expressions. There's no reason to say NLP. You could say regular expressions, sometimes powered by NLP or something like that. But this just, like, I was just really let down by how little this can accomplish because of my having tried NLP and NLU, and natural language processing, natural language understanding. It doesn't tell me things like emotions inside of this text. It doesn't tell me people who are inside of this text. Let's try mention in case mention is actually supposed to do that. That would be cool. Okay, so I don't know what mention is supposed to do. Let's go see if the documentation says. Recognize it. Okay, so date, time, dimension, temperature, currency. It lists the different ones and the different languages. Like, what? What is this documentation? Oh, gosh. Imagine putting all this effort into building an action and then like no examples, no information beyond that. Just, hey, here's a thing. Why don't you feed it some text and see what you can get out of it? Well, I fed it some text and I don't like what I got out of it. So that's a little weird to me. I do think that it's cool that they are adding this kind of stuff, and I have no problem with experimental actions. I don't have any problem with over time this tool getting improved and this action maybe it gets changed, it gets better. That's fine. But it is slightly weird to support a thing that is useless to me, in my opinion. There's a bunch of other ones here too. They probably all work in similar ways. I don't even know what dimension means. I might not be smart enough to guess what this means, but percentages and other stuff. Note that if you try this, be careful of something. One thing you might end up doing is going to the internet, searching for a bunch of text, and then copying it, pasting it into set variable, and then trying to do recognize entities in text. There's a number of reasons that might not work. One of which is this. If I were to be looking for percentages, and I want to look for, something, and then it might say like 100% and 85% and 70%, let's just say. Okay, that looks fine to me. But then when I hit save, it's going to say parameter 2 syntax error. Why is that? Well, because I just put a percent symbol in here. And Power Automate specifically uses percents to identify variable names, which means that what I just typed here is it's going to look for a variable name of what I've just highlighted there with the and 85 in it. There's no variable name by that. You can't put spaces in variable names and stuff. So somehow you have to escape these percents. Let's see if putting a backslash fixes it. It didn't work. Okay, so there's probably a way, and I just haven't learned it yet. What if I put 2% symbols? Hey, okay, cool. So if you want to try this, and it uses something like percents, or you come across other problems that set variable won't let you use, try putting the same character twice in order to escape it. That does seem like a Microsoft thing, so I probably should have guessed that to begin with. And then what it did is it got these percents out successfully. And when it converts this text, it converts it to not have the percent symbol and to just like a numeric value that you can use. So with my having made fun of this, I guess it's not 100% fair. I suppose this is useful, and maybe it is a little better than just regular expressions. So I guess I take it all back. I probably will come back and revisit this action at a later date, and we'll see whether or not I have anything to make fun of for that. But my guess is that, like everything else, Microsoft is just trying some things out, and they'll eventually improve it over time anyways. So we'll have to see where they go with this action. The next update is syntax highlighting in scripting actions. So it says that there's going to be syntax highlighting in various actions such as run VB script. They spelled PowerShell wrong here. Execute SQL statement, run JavaScript, run Python script, run JavaScript function on web page. I'm going to tell you that I am no expert in really any of these. I've used all of them. I've used every one of these that it's mentioned, but I've only used them some. Like one time I wrote a Python calculator app because I had to for college, and I've messed around with JavaScript, and like I'm just okay at SQL and PowerShell. I've written some PowerShell scripts, but I just have to Google the whole time. And then VB script, I can't remember anything from. So because of that, I'm just going to go Google some code and we're going to paste it into Power Automate and see if it highlights the syntax for us. So let's go create a new flow, highlight syntax. Let's name it try. That way they're all alphabetically next to each other. Try highlight syntax. Let's go to JavaScript examples. JavaScript can change HTML content. What can JavaScript do? Okay, so here is our JavaScript. Let's go into here and let's search for JavaScript. Run JavaScript function. Function execute script. Your code here. Return something. Optionally. That's kind of cool. Now we don't actually have a web browser instance, so okay. We're gonna try this. I wanna do that. So we get an ID run btn. Okay. Let's close this. I got the ID of a button, this run button. Can I see your code goes here? Document, get element by ID, run button. And then we have to attach somehow. So what is this browser? No. Chrome? Launch new Chrome. We don't attach to the running instance. It has the word editor in it, so we'll use that. No idea if this is going to work, but if it does, this will be awesome. Web browser instance can't be empty. Oh. Let's choose the browser. And then, if you know JavaScript and I did something wrong here, like, sorry. Here we go. Let's save this. And unless I've done this completely wrong, what I would assume I've just done is it should attach to this instance of Chrome, and it should change this, maybe this button. It should change this to say something else, although this is the inner HTML, so maybe I should have used something else. Let me go inspect this again. Run. No, okay, so this is the inner HTML right here. So maybe it'll work. Okay, let's try it. It should change that run button to say something else. Okay, so attach to Chrome oh, it worked. Hey, look at that. We changed this button to say hello JavaScript. Oh my goodness, we're the best. Okay, I was far more satisfied with that than I probably should have been. That was exciting. Okay, so I apologize for not really explaining everything that I just did, but the point here is that this actually does the syntax highlighting, so you can see that like a string of text or a string literal will be highlighted in brown, I guess, for JavaScript here, and then the certain keywords like function are highlighted blue. And I think that for the most part, sometimes all you'll see is a bunch of blue. So let's go do SQL. Actually, wait, I already have one. I already have a SQL example. So let's go search for SQL. Here, this use case video, which by the way, there's a video about this. All of this whole flow that I'm about to open up, I explained it all and we worked through it little by little, and it's named something like use case SQL, blah, blah, blah. Actually, I think it's named the same as up here. So use case SQL, Excel, HTML table, whatever. But anyway, if I go to the execute SQL statements action and I open it up, you can see that. So before it was just black. It was just a bunch of black text like select star from challenge. But now it's highlighting keywords like select and from. And that's kind of just a user experience kind of thing. It's not a functional change. And I like user experience and quality of life changes. I'm all about that. Please, for goodness sake, though, Microsoft, please, I can't, like, they implemented syntax highlighting before they implemented dark mode. Why is there no dark mode? Have I missed it? Default layout? No, that's not what I want. Feedback. I need to give them feedback. We got to have a dark mode. Okay. Anyway, so that's syntax highlighting. I didn't show all of the actions because they're all the same. You basically just open up one of those actions they've said are supported, and it'll do syntax highlighting for you. And that's it. The next update is going to be new functionality to clear last error in action get last error. This new parameter in the action get last error will now allow users to clear the error value stored in memory after its invocation. If the action is called again, the variable will contain the no error message. Okay. I've barely done any exception handling with this. I've literally never tried this action before. This is the first time we're trying it. So, forgive me if this goes poorly. I'm going to try to not go off on a tangent with this like I sometimes do, but let's try it. So, try get last error. And I assume that what we've got to do is, we have to cause an error to occur. I'm trying to think what would be a good error for us for this to occur. Okay, let's do like a UI automation kind of thing. So we've got a browser open right now, and we can use that. Let's search for like click UI element in window, and we will add a UI element. We're just gonna pick like this will work. This new parameter in the action. Click done, save. Let's make sure the browser is there. Okay, we'll test it just to make sure it works first. Okay, so you see it moved the cursor to this new parameter, so it kind of clicked it. I'm going to now change it to make it not work. Oops. I'm going to go to UI elements. We're going to open this up. And then down here, we're just going to make it wrong. So, oh, actually, we got to fix this. So we don't want ordinal. Okay, this new parameter in the action. Okay, I gotta close it and try it one more time to make sure it works. Okay, so it clicked this area, and then I'm gonna go back into the UI element and make it wrong by going to the root, or not to the root node, actually the opposite of the root node, very bottom. I'm gonna type into here and just change this to like broken. Okay, there is no element in the web page that has the word broken and then this new parameter. I guess I should rename this. Text broken. Okay, like that. Save this. So now when I run this, it should throw an exception. Now, okay, it occurs to me, maybe this wasn't the best choice because, oh, there we go. Okay, it only took a few seconds to fail. Okay, what we want to do, I think, is we're going to have to change the on error. Let's see. Retry action. We don't want it to retry. Continue the flow run. Go to next action. Okay. And then let's do get last error. Store into last error. You see me save over and over because I'm just worried that it's going to crash. Okay. It never crashes, but I'm just worried about it. So it should fail to click the element. It should continue and not throw an exception. And then it should get the last error, which says, wow, it got all the error details. Okay. The error message is click failed to get UI element. And then it has this, I guess, what we'd call the stack trace of all of the errors that occurred when it bubbled all the way up through. And that looks great. This is actually easier to use than I thought. Now we need to actually try the change. So this what I've just done is what already existed. You could get the last error before. It says new functionality in this action. So now you can check the parameter to say to clear the error. So let me show you actually before we do that. Right here, if I run it twice, okay, we're going to run this. It's going to fail, continue, and then it's going to stop on this breakpoint. And I'm going to step over this. And you'll see it says the last error is, click failed. And because in this action, we didn't have it clear the error, it's still going to exist. So I can still step again. And in this second one, it also got the last error like this. So now what I can do is go to the first one and change it to clear error true, save it. I'm saying this is what's going to happen because I'm guessing based upon their description. This is the first time I've ever tried this. You're doing this with me. This is exciting. Here we go. We're going to run it. And what it should do is throw the error. This first one should get the error message into here. Okay, so there's the error message. But now when I run this one, because I have set the previous action to clear the last error, it no longer exists. So when I step over this, I assume it would clear this out to have nothing in it because there's no error anymore. There we go. Oh, it actually says no error. Oh, that's just a UI thing. So inside of it, it's just empty. That's pretty awesome. I like it. Okay. So this gives us a little more flexibility in handling things with maybe our own kind of exception handling logic. As I said, I have not delved into exception handling in Power Automate, but I definitely like the design and how it works. So I will definitely intend to jump into that. I think I'm going to have to see how other people handle it though, because it's so different from what I'm used to. Though it is similar to a lot of RPA tools. Okay, so that is the get last error. We're still going to be working with error type stuff in the next update that we look at. So let's go ahead and look at that now. The next update we're looking at also has to do with error. The one we just looked at was clearing the last error whenever we get the last error. And then now we're going to look at new functionality to capture unexpected errors in action on block error. Now, what I wish I had done is before installing the new version of Power Automate, I kind of wish I had tried this out to see what it was like in the previous one because I just haven't tried it before. So I don't know what it used to do, but let's trust Microsoft as far as that what it used to do when you used on block error is that either you didn't have a specific way to handle it or it didn't handle errors at all that came from things like division by zero or index out of bounds. So division by zero is pretty obvious what that is, right? You just do divide by zero, and the answer to that is basically infinity. So you can't divide by zero. But in case you don't know what index out of bounds means, usually that has to do with, it actually says it right here. When you're trying to retrieve an item from a list, let's say you have a list of 5 items. If you try to retrieve number 22 in that list, or the 22nd item in a list that only has 5 items, that's going to be an index out of bounds, because when you refer to the index, it has a bounds within which it can function. So usually it's like a 0-based index. So the first item is index 0. In a list of 5 items, the highest index you can go to is 4. So if you try to tell it, get me the 22nd index, it's going to be index out of bounds. So let's go ahead and test. I think we'll test with both of these, scenarios. So let's create a flow, try, let's see, what was this called again? On block error. Okay, on block error marks the beginning of a block to handle actions errors. Select parameters. The name of the exception block for visual purposes only. Okay, cool. So testing on block error. I was staring at this blank like, I don't know what to put here. Okay, so, okay, we put rules. Oh, man. I'm having to learn about exception handling while I'm just trying out a new feature. Well, no time like the present. So, what I see here are rules. Oh, name is invalid. Probably can't have spaces. That's kind of weird. Seems like you should be allowed to have spaces. Okay, you can set a variable to a certain value. You can run a subflow. So if you had an exception handling subflow, you could use it here. And in that, you could do get last error and stuff. Okay, we can continue the flow. We can go to the next action, repeat the action again, go to label, go to beginning of block, go to the end of the block. I think we should go to the end of the block for now. And capture unexpected logic errors. Expand the scope of error handling so that capturing logical errors in the flow, for example, dividing a number by 0 or trying to access an item from an out-of-bounds position. Okay, so what I don't know is, I guess before, maybe it just didn't capture those kind of errors, or you didn't have the choice before. But in any case, this is a good update. I can already see that this would be beneficial. Okay, so first we're gonna have two different blocks actually. Let's do that. So let's go, this will be on block error, and we're testing, let's see, capture, let's say don't capture unexpected logic errors. And then in this one, we're going to be, we want to capture unexpected logic errors. And then we'll put the same thing in both of these and we'll see how they react differently. Let's use set variable. We'll just put this, it doesn't really matter what we put this into because we're going to divide by 0. So 5 divided by 0. And you know what? I think I have to put, I might have to put, yeah, I might have to do this. Because it tells it's a calculation. And then when it runs this first one, it should not throw an error. Okay, no. It just doesn't capture exceptions. Okay, let's use a message box. Block 1 ran fully. Okay. And then block 2 ran fully. All right. So what I'm going for is that what I want to know is, okay, so in the first one, if an error occurs that, you know, an error that's in scope, some error that we do deal with, it should continue the flow. It'll go to the end of the block, which means that it skips everything inside the block. Like this stage will cause an error. It'll skip this stage and go to end. But because I've set it to not capture unexpected logic errors, such as division by 0, it shouldn't consider this to be an error that it's worried about catching, I think. Or it might just throw an error and the whole flow will stop. I bet that's what's going to happen. Let's try it. Yeah. Okay, so division by 0 isn't allowed. And then if I, let's see, so I'm gonna have to disable this for it to do that. Okay, let's select all these, right click, disable. So disabled all this stuff. And this one, we set it to capture unexpected logic errors. And then it should continue the flow by going to the end of the block. So in this case, when I run this, instead of it terminating the session or terminating this this run, it should skip from here to end, and it won't run this display message. It seemed to loop. That was kind of weird. Let me see that again. What is happening? Hold on, let's step. Okay, so it goes to on block error. It runs this. Because that's a little weird. Maybe it's just something I'm not aware of, but it went back to this top of the block for some reason. So that makes sense. Now you can choose whether or not to capture those kind of things. Just making a guess here about why you would want to do that. I have no idea why you'd want to turn that on and off. If you're watching this and you're like, here's a reason why you'd want to set this to true or false, I would always have it true. I don't know why I would want a thing to run, why I'd want an automation to run, and it not be capable of handling exceptions like that. Because it's not like I'm choosing specifically to ignore or to throw an exception and terminate the run with division by 0. It's doing it by anything. So even index out of bounds. Speaking of which, we should test that. So list. What we can do is like we'll just create a list by doing add item to list. Test 1 into list. We'll just call this list. And then we'll run add item to list again. We'll do test 2. So we're just adding basically a text item to a list. And then once we've run this, then we want to, let's see. We're gonna enable this again. We're gonna change it. Let's see. We want to, let's say, remove item from list. We're going to choose to remove the item by the index. And we'll do index, like I said, something like index 22 from list. Okay, so there's only 2 items in this list. So trying to remove index 22 is not going to work. What it should do is, because I have this set to false, it will terminate the flow. And if I copy this, put it again in here, when we decide to run this, actually, let me just move them. What? Let's try that again. Okay, maybe I need to move this one down. Okay, that's better. All right, so I'm moving things around. Okay, what I've switched around to now is that we are going to capture unexpected logic errors in the first block. This is an unexpected logic error because ideally, if you design your code right, it shouldn't be possible to try to retrieve an index, an item at an index that doesn't exist. That means you've probably designed your code wrong. So maybe that's what the purpose of this would be, right? Like, I don't want to capture unexpected logic errors because if those occur, I want it to fail because that means I designed the thing wrong and it should just stop. So that's fair. Okay. What should happen is it'll get to here. It'll have an unexpected logic error. Based upon the rules that I've set here, it should move to the end of the block and go down to this block. In this one, it'll have the same error again, but this time because I've set it to not capture unexpected logic errors, the flow will terminate when it gets to this one. So let's put a breakpoint here. Let's run this. Okay, so you can see that it did not display a message saying block 1 ran fully, which means that this threw an error and it went to the end of the block. That's what happens, right? And then on block error here, we're going to run it again. This one should throw an error when it gets to this point, and it'll just terminate the run. Oh, right. I got to step again. It didn't. Capture unexpected logic errors. Remove. Okay, so maybe when you remove an item at a certain index, if that item doesn't exist already, it pretends like it's already been removed. That must be what it's doing, so we have to use something else. Let's try to, I guess I need to retrieve an item from the list or something. Set variable. Okay, I'm going to have to go look this up really quick because I can't remember how we retrieve from a list. It's like, okay, you know what? We're just gonna guess because I can't remember. List. Oh, that's the wrong place. We want to set text to index 1. It's going to be something like that. Let's make sure that works. Okay, so I made a guess there, and I guess that was right. What's happening here? Display message. Display notification pop-up window with title. Block 2 ran fully. Maybe it's on somebody else's screen because it's not on mine. Not sure what's going on here. Why is this broken? Oh, here it is. I just couldn't see it. Okay. Okay. Let's try this again. So let's run it. I just want to make sure everything's good. Okay, here's the pop-up. Okay, so what I did was I retrieved index number 1. What I'm going to do is retrieve index number 22, which doesn't exist. This should throw an exception. This is just like dividing by 0. Should get caught by this unblock error. Actually, no, it won't get caught because I've set it to not capture unexpected logic errors, and then it will just terminate the run. There we go. So index 22 is out of range. That looks good. So that's how we use the onBlock error change for capture unexpected logic errors. Again, if you have some interesting scenarios or just useful information for me, feel free to leave a comment and let me know different reasons why you would or wouldn't use this setting, and we'll go to the next update. The next update is new capability to save an Excel workbook in binary format. Now, when I first saw this, I thought, who was asking for this? Why would you ever want to do this? And it turns out this is just something I had no idea would ever be a useful thing. So, of course, I Googled it because when I don't know something, that's what I do is I Google it. And it turns out that there are actually some benefits to using Excel as binary workbooks. So this XLSB file format. Some of the benefits I don't totally understand, but the ones I do understand are that the file size is smaller, I think. It can be more secure. So like it's in binary format, which means that it might prevent some other programs from being able to directly read it. I think you can't probably just open it as like a CSV file because it's in binary, and the program you open it with has to know how to convert the format, which is a proprietary format, this XLSB. So I think you'd have to use a Microsoft product or something designed to read a Microsoft product file format in order to convert it. And I think it's faster. I think I read that it's faster to read and write XLSB files. And when you have massive files, that can actually be a really good thing. Now, let me know in the comments, have you encountered this? Did you find it necessary to use XLSB? Are there times when you have to use this and that kind of stuff? My initial thought was this would be beneficial for when you want to include it as a payload in an API call. But when I looked it up, nobody was mentioning that. So I think I was just totally off my rocker about that. Let me know if you know what the reasons are. But first, we'll just go ahead and try this out. So this says it's enhancement over save Excel and close Excel actions. So let's go to try out those. I'm going to save that one I had before. Let's create a new flow. We'll call this try save Excel in binary format. Okay, let's go to the Excel group. I just want to see what those actions look like. So save Excel. Save mode, save document as, document format. Okay, so I would assume I'd see XLSB in here somewhere. Oh my goodness, look at all the choices. Okay, here at the very bottom, Excel binary workbook format. So we're going to end up using that document path. Let's go get a path to use. Okay, so let's, I think what we'll do is just read in the data from one spreadsheet and then write out to save into a new one, I guess, or something like that. So let's use CRM data. What's this? Oh, what is this? UI path integration. I don't know why it's asking me that. So we're going to say no. Okay, let's do that. So CRM data.xlsx in this folder. And then we're going to write back out to the same folder, CRM data. Now, I don't know. I guess I don't need to provide the XLSB here. Save. Okay, so we got to, let's see, we got to launch Excel. Let's, oh, you know what? Let's try to go the easy route. I don't know if this will work out like I want it to, but C:\test CRM underscore data.xlsx. Make instance visible, sure. Open read only. That could be useful. Password. Okay, and then the variables produced, I just want to change this to say Excel to match what I typed in the save Excel action. Okay, so it's going to launch Excel, and then it's going to save Excel as XLSB, and then I guess we need to close Excel. Oh, okay, so we could choose to do it either way. Right. Let's go ahead and set it up to work like that. Save document as Excel. Oh, this is off the screen. Here. Document format, Excel binary workbook. Can you see that? You can see that. It's probably small letters, but document path we want to save to test. Let's create a second version of this. CRM data 2. We won't put the dot. Okay. Save. Okay, so what I've done is we're launching an Excel. So let's do a little breakpoint here. We'll run this. It should open up this spreadsheet like it did on the screen right here. Okay, while this is open, I'm going to step over this. What it should do is save this Excel workbook that I have open. It should save it to this location. And right, the existing one is XLSX. It should have an XLSB format after I do this. So let's go look. Well, first let's see if, okay, yeah. So the one we have open was actually changed. So this is XLSB now. And if I go to the test folder, there's, let's see, yep, see, let's, I wonder when okay, I have it sorted by size. Okay, CRM data XLSX and CRM data XLSB. Oh, okay, so when I said before that the binary format is smaller, it looks like the binary format is actually larger because this is twice the size. So when I looked this up, I may have read it backwards. I guess the other way to look at it is it could be that the larger amount of data that you have could affect it. So maybe depending on the size of the original workbook, maybe it's smaller in binary format, but I don't know. I guess I have to do some testing. So if you were going to go use this, you might want to just check both versions. Right, check both file extension types and see which one is larger if what you're trying to do is save space. Okay, and then the other action is to close Excel. And of course, I could have chosen to just have this not do any saving, right? It would just leave it alone, close the Excel file. But I also want to test its functionality for the close Excel action to save the file to a different place. So I've given it CRM underscore data 2 as a name for a file. So now we should see a third file exist with this similar kind of name. Let's just run it. It closed Excel, which is what I wanted. And then it should have also saved a file called CRM data 2, and it's also in the XLSB format. So let's open that up. So it looks to be the same. I don't see any difference as far as like working with it in Excel. I can open it just fine. But as I understand it, it might be faster to work with a binary file if you had a really large one that you were trying to write data to and read data from a lot. Again, let me know in the comments if you have already experienced this, you already know the best times to use this and when not to use it. I would love to know, and we'll go ahead and head to the next update now. The next update is window element has been added as parameter in action send keys. The send keys action of Power Automate for desktop is enhanced with the send keys to parameter, with which users may select the window or UI element where the inserted keys will be sent, even if the window is not in the foreground. In RPA, I'm going to say this for anybody who isn't already aware of this. I think a lot of people are, but just in case you haven't experienced this a lot, in RPA in general, some RPA tools will implicitly bring a window to the foreground, meaning this is, right? So like the Microsoft Store here. Okay, so Microsoft Store is in the foreground and Chrome Windows is in the background. So if I wanted to send keys, that is like type on the keyboard effectively, or simulate those keys and send it to one of these windows, typically I would need to make sure that that window comes to the foreground. Some RPA tools will just do this implicitly. If you use send keys, it will automatically, I think Power Automate typically does this. It will automatically bring a window to the foreground and send keys to it. I don't remember if that always worked before. It's odd to me that this is an update because I thought it would have already worked. What I'd like to see is whether or not you can send keys to the window and leave it in the foreground. Or I'm sorry, leave it in the background. So don't bring it to the foreground at all. That would be very cool. And I guess I should mention, I mentioned that a lot of RPA tools will implicitly bring a window to the foreground. Some RPA tools like Blue Prism are just not going to do that. It's everything about Blue Prism is you did it on purpose. Like there's no accidental like activating of this window or selecting that window or typing into this place. You have to choose to do each thing that you want it to do. It's a very kind of like low level set of steps that you have to accomplish. I am assuming Power Automate is going for a higher level. Let me just choose what window I want it to go into, and it doesn't matter where that window is, it will still work. So let's try that out. I think we'll probably use Notepad because that's pretty easy to test with. So I've got that window open. Let's go create a flow, window, element, send keys. All right, and then let's use send keys. Foreground window, UI element, window, instance, handle, title, or class. So let's use UI element. We're gonna have to add a UI element. We'll select the the body area of this notepad, and we'll just type like, did this work? No special keys. Delay between strokes, 10 milliseconds. I guess that is. Save. Okay, so first we'll test this. Actually, I guess we'll be yeah, I think this will be in the foreground automatically when I run. Oh, it didn't. So it brought it to the foreground on its own. Okay, let's put it in the background entirely. So let's put this behind that window and run it. Okay, wait, what? Okay, I think what's happening, object reference not sent to an instance of an object. It must have something to do with our UI element, so let's go check that out. Name, text editor. Let's bring this to the foreground. Okay, so it's definitely still able to type into it. If I put this into the background, okay, it's still working. I think what I did, I think there must be multiple edit windows or something that it's finding, so it was failing to work. So I updated the, I updated this so that it says, it's using name equals text editor. So probably if I had multiple notepad windows open, that would fail. and I'd have to adjust the UI element selector. Okay. So how do we test this to make sure? So, okay, let me just go ahead and say, what I don't like is that it's bringing it to the foreground. I was hoping Microsoft had come up with some way to use send keys in a window that is not in the foreground. It's true that they worded it like, they said insert keys, and the keys will be sent even if the window is not in the foreground. Technically, what this should say is that you can send keys to the window or the UI elements, and even if it's not in the foreground, the window will be brought to the foreground before sending the keys. That's probably what it should say to be more accurate, but maybe they just figured that's an assumption that's always going to be the case. But I just thought it'd be cool if they had a way to not do that. So let's do send text as hardware keys. Also, I just want to test and see if there's a chance it won't bring it to the foreground, but still work. Okay, so we want that in the background. It's still going to bring it to the foreground. Yeah, still brought it to the foreground, but that's okay. I am making the assumption here that in previous versions, I don't remember having to bring something to the foreground. Maybe I just always did it anyways. Let's see. Let's go to the UI elements section, or the UI automation section. I guess I probably always brought it to the foreground on purpose first because I'm so used to doing that. So I never attempted to send keys into a window until after it was already like the active window. I guess that's what I did. So we can see it works. I'm a little bit surprised that wasn't already a thing. Send keys action is enhanced with a send keys to parameter. Okay, I get it now. Okay, yeah. So the send keys to parameter didn't exist before at all. This whole choice just didn't even exist. I think I remember that now. Or probably not even the. I don't know if the UI element. Probably both of these top ones didn't exist. It was just sending text, and then whatever you had last clicked into or focused or whatever, that's where the keys would be sent. Okay, so this is a good change if that's the case. Again, this is probably one of those that I wish I had recorded trying this out in the previous version of Power Automate, but I just didn't do that because I was so interested in switching over to the Microsoft Store version. All right, so that was window element has been added as parameter in action send keys. Looks good. Thanks, Microsoft. I like it. The last update that we'll go over today is going to be the Windows OCR engine is now supported in OCR actions. In addition to Tesseract, which is the engine that was available before, and I've actually tried that out a fair bit, Windows OCR has been added as a new engine type to work with. The following OCR related actions: if text on screen, wait for text on screen, move mouse to text on screen, and extract text with OCR. Let's go ahead and try out all 4 of these actions. This is going to make this video extremely long, but you know what? If you're still watching this, thanks for being here. But honestly, like I'm half doing this for myself so that I learn something. If nobody watches this far in, it's no big deal. But if you are here, I appreciate it. As a side note, the OCR engine variable option is going to be removed soon, as it is related to older create OCR engine actions that have already been deprecated. Right, I remember that. Okay, let's create a flow test Windows OCR engine. Move mouse to text on OCR screen. Okay, so we need to try these 4, the ones that say OCR in them, so we could actually just search for OCR, and it's going to limit it down to these specific ones. Okay, the first thing I want to do is we're just going to take a screenshot of like a web page, so we can actually just test this one. You know what? This is an image, right? We are going to test Microsoft's Power Automate's ability to read text off of this image that's inside their own web page. Okay. First, let's just do extract text with OCR and see how that does. So we've got the 2 options. We'll test both Tesseract and Windows OCR. Okay, so the OCR source Oh, that's cool. We can save an image to the disk and then read it. That's very cool. Foreground window, screen. I guess we could just use the foreground window. Why? I wonder why it doesn't have like window. Like, why can't I do in a specific window? We'll do foreground window. And then whole of the specified source. It'll put the value into OCR, and we'll put it into Tesseract. We'll copy this and do Windows. Change this one to Windows OCR engine. Save. And then what I need to do is something to make sure that the window I want is in the foreground. So let's use UI automation. And I guess we'll have it like maybe click. Or wait, can I set a window state? Okay, set window state. And we want it to be, oh, right. So that's not going to let me set it to the foreground. Resize window? Focus window? Maybe focus window is what I want. Okay, let's try that. We're going to focus the window so that it's in the foreground, like this. And then we'll extract all the text from that window. So it focuses the window. Extract all the text. Let's see how they did. Okay, here's Tesseract. Okay, so Tesseract didn't do very good. It got sign up free at the bottom. It's a little suspicious that it got that correctly. Power automate. And then some random words that it got here or there. Let's try Windows. Wait, where's select parameters? Select parameters. Oh, here, right here. I'm just blind. It says select parameters right there. Wow! Look how much better that did. Oh, this means I might be able to go back and test out. Okay, so here's what I did a while back. I was trying to automate the user interface of Minecraft. I don't play Minecraft very often, but I was trying this out, okay? I'm not very good at Minecraft, and I don't want to have to play to mine all those, gems and stuff out of the earth. So I was just trying to build a power automation or flow that would mine for me. So just like go forward and like use a pickaxe or a shovel or whatever and mine out the blocks in front of me and just mine a ways down into a mine shaft or something. So I could just start it and it would do that for me. The problem is I wanted it to be smart and point up and point down to mine, right, when it needed to, and then move forward whenever it needed to. And I actually used some C# code and stuff to have it move the mouse around properly, and then also use send keys, right, to hey, now I can use the send keys change to properly send it to the right window. Anyways, it would move forward or side to side, whatever it needs to, based upon the scenario. And what I was trying to use the OCR engine for is to read the text from like when I think you press like F2 or F3 or something in Minecraft, and it will show you a bunch of stats, like where you are in the world and like, XYZ position and stuff like that. And then it would use that information to know what to do next. So that means maybe I could use this Windows OCR engine and it would be more successful, because the only reason I didn't go through with it and make a video about it is that the OCR was just not good enough. And like I have long known Tesseract is not great. Like it's okay, but the text it reads has to be very clear for it to be able to get it. And I think the DPI of the image also is really important for Tesseract to be successful. Windows OCR appears to be really good. How far can we test this? Should we open Minecraft right now and test it? We're going to do it. Okay, Minecraft launcher. Oh no, I have to log in. Okay, here we go. All right, we've got Minecraft open. And here's what we want to do. We're gonna, this is a little annoying that this menu comes up whenever I'm not clicked into the game. So when I do this, that's gonna come up, but that's fine. We're gonna try to just read the text off of the screen and see how well it does it. So let's, oh, I'm excited. Okay, I need to have it focus a different window though. So let's add another UI element. And I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see. Minecraft. We want to edit this. Just want it to say like Minecraft. I guess Minecraft single player. That's fine. I think I need to put, I don't know if star works in here. So let's just do Minecraft. Oh, here we go. Contains Minecraft. And yeah, the process is Java. That should work. So let's just make sure that focusing the Minecraft window works. Did I not change it? I didn't change it. I need this to use this window. Let's make sure that it can focus the Minecraft window. Oh, there we go. Cool. And then now I do need to make another, I think I need to make another image UI element. Okay, so if text on screen. Okay, you know what? We're going too far with this. Let's just test to see how good the OCR is first before we go that far. I'm going to run this. I need it to wait for just a period of time afterward. So duration, let's go with like 3 seconds. And what we'll do is run this. What it will do is it'll focus the Minecraft window, then wait 3 seconds. I'm going to manually click back to game, which is something we might automate later. And then it'll extract all the OCR, extract with OCR every text in the window with both the Tesseract engine and the Windows OCR engine. And then we'll see how good it is. Okay, so it should bring this to the foreground. I'm going to click back to game. Now it's going to wait. Now it should, and then it should read everything with Tesseract and then read everything with Windows OCR. Okay, so you can see that Tesseract gets a lot of the data, right? Like it gets stuff. Well, it actually didn't get anywhere near as much as I was expecting. That's very weird. I feel like it did better before. I think what I did before maybe is I made the text bigger so that it maybe had a better chance of it, or I adjusted the size of the window such that it would have a better chance. But in any case, I did get Tesseract to do better with this. I did the same thing in Blue Prism. It also uses Tesseract, and it did okay, but it got some numbers wrong. So let's go to the OCR one for Windows. Okay, so it also didn't get a lot of the data. It could have something to do with the size of the text, though. So I'm going to make the text even larger. Don't know if it improves the chances for it to read it, but we're going to try. So it's kind of off screen for you, but you can see a little bit. Yeah. Okay, let's try this again. Now, what we're looking for specifically is I want it to read this XYZ value. Oh, which actually it did not do a terrible job now that I look at it. It says XYZ 2234.861, and then it didn't get the middle number, but it got the Z value. It got the X wrong and the Z wrong, didn't get Y at all. Okay, do this. Here we go. Wait, what did I change? Right, I made the window bigger. Okay, I'm going to manually hit that, and then it should read everything. Oh, you know what? The other thing could have to do with the colors that are behind it. It might do better with the background being dark. See if Tesseract did any better. Not really. Did Windows do any better? So it actually did worse this time for some reason. So it doesn't look like it's going to work super well, unfortunately. The other thing that we can try is probably reading from certain places in this, but I'm going to leave that to another video. And I'm going to jump back to what we were doing before, and I might not include all of this in the video anyways. So I don't know if I will end up cutting out all of what I just did or not. What I just tried is to extract text with OCR using Tesseract and Windows OCR from the Minecraft window when it has a whole bunch of stats up on the screen as far as like your XY position and the block you're pointing at and things like that, the biome you're in. And I'll just show you, in case I don't include all that in the final video, I'll at least include this. And you can see that what Windows OCR got is a lot more than Tesseract. So here's what Windows got. Oh, actually, it's got some stuff down here. So none of this is usable though. Like there's a little bit of this that might be usable, and then some of this that might be usable. And then I go to Windows though, and to me, this looks a whole lot more usable than the other one was. And I would say it's actually kind of difficult for a free OCR tool to get this text out. Now paid ones can do this. They can do it with no problem. They can read handwriting and stuff. But I'm trying to not spend any money for this, right? But this comes a lot closer. I bet with messing around with it, I'd be able to get it even better than this by changing the size of the window. Maybe if I can change the font and stuff like that. But it did fairly well. It got a lot of information that the Tesseract engine did not get. So I would say this is a huge success and gives us a lot better OCR capability directly in the tool without paying for some service that we use by API to read text for us. All right, and then before we move on, I'll just probably try a couple of these actions. So like move mouse to text on screen. Let's delete what we have below there. So Windows OCR engine, we're gonna look for text in this image. So let's go with like text to find. See if it can find that. Oh, you can do regular expressions. That's cool. Entire screen, we just want the foreground window, and anywhere in that move mouse from previous position, we can do low speed, and save this. Now let's delete most of this. We need to set the focus window from Minecraft to instead be this image that's in the web page. Let me make sure that's on the screen. Well, now it's really on the screen. And let's run this. It's going to focus the window and then hopefully move the mouse to where it finds text to find. That's so cool. I mean, I'm a professional. I've seen this all before. That's really cool. Okay. I'm excited. I love it. Any other problems with this update just don't even matter because this works so well, and I'm really excited to use this. I'm probably going to try the whole Minecraft thing again. I would love it if I could make a working Power Automate flow that automated mining in Minecraft. I know there's other ways to do it, and you typically you probably wouldn't want to, like, you play Minecraft because it's fun, right? Like if it's not fun to do it, then why make an automation for it? Anyway, I think this is a huge success. I'm so excited about this. If text on screen is just going to give you like an if-then kind of statement, and wait for text on screen is just going to wait for the text to appear. Same as, it's the same concept as the rest of them. Oh man, that's exciting. Okay, so this video has been extremely long. I would say I apologize for it, but I really don't, because it was a lot of fun to go through this. I had a lot of struggles at the very beginning trying to make some of these actions work like they're supposed to. Power Automate kept getting corrupted and I had to uninstall it and reinstall it and stuff. Most of the time the tool is fairly reliable, but like not today and yesterday. It was a real struggle. So thanks so much for joining me. And you know what? I think I'm gonna hit up the next video and maybe go to the next actions group, because I'm kind of excited to power forward and do more Power Automate. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.